saying, well, we're not actually reading everybody's emails. We're not actually listening to everybody's phone calls. We're just collecting them in case they're interesting later. We're just putting them in a bucket. We're just rifling through them. We're not actually scanning them. We just want the safety measure. We don't want to miss anything. He's also talking about the distinction between metadata versus content. Metadata, for those who aren't familiar with it, the content of communications is what you're actually saying on the phone call, what you're actually writing in the body of the email, what you actually write inside the Facebook message. Metadata is one step out from that, and it has no meaningful legal protections in our current Western jurisprudence, which is the real danger, because the government holds that you don't actually own records of your activities, right? You only have a privacy interest in actually what you say, but not anything that anybody records about when you said it, how you said it, how long it took you to say it, things like that. So when we talk about that old school surveillance, right, that used to be targeted, you'd send a private eye to follow people around. And they would see these people leave their homes in the morning. They would write down what time of day they got up, where they left, the means of conveyance. They went in this car, it had this license plate number. This is metadata. No legal protections for it. You'd go to the cafe, you'd meet with someone. They couldn't sit so close to you that they heard everything you said, because you'd go, who is this weirdo following me around? But they'd sit near enough to see who you met with, how long you were there, and be able to sort of assess the context of that relationship. Is this someone that he meets with all the time? Is this a lover? Is this a spouse? You can tell by the frequency of contact. You can tell by, do they spend the night with each other all the time, and these things like that. Now they're doing that instantly for everyone always, because it's cheap, it's easy, it's free. By following your cell phones, right? Where does your cell phone go at night? What other cell phones are around that cell phone? The laptop that you're using, right? What networks does it connect to? Every network adapter, right? Whether it's the Wi-Fi card, whether it's the Ethernet port, whether it's the radio in your phone, has what's called a UUID or a GUID, universally unique identifier or globally unique identifier, right? These, you can think of them as little tags that are burned into the hardware of the device. They can't be changed on a permanent basis, at least without serious expertise. And this means that every time you connect to one of these networks, your device is different from every other device in the world that could be connected to it. There are meaningful technical reasons for this to happen, right? This wasn't a surveillance scheme, but a byproduct of this is that suddenly the devices that were designed to empower you can now be used to disempower you. They can be used to make you vulnerable. They can be used to watch you. And that is what's happening. Metadata in bulk, this collection that's happening with everyone, and no court needs to be involved, because again, they say you don't own these records. Facebook owns these records. The cell phone company owns this record of where your cell phone went, not you, right? So they can do whatever they want with it. They can hand it to the government voluntarily. They can provide it in response to a subpoena or a court order, which is not so objectionable, right? Companies can turn over things if the court says we have probable cause to believe this person's a criminal. But what if they do it for everyone all the time, everywhere? What if the government cuts out the middleman and starts doing it themselves by tapping the cross-border fiber optic communications that connect, for example, Canada to the United States or other countries? Well, the problem is the internet doesn't live in Canada, right? The internet lives all over the world. So the minute your communications go to Facebook or Google or Yahoo or anything like this, any major service that anybody's using, you go to iTunes, that's creating a record that these people now didn't have to go to court to have on you. Now, so again, we started to deviate, but again, it's a complex question. I apologize for taking so long. So Obama's going, well, we're not reading the content. And that's because he didn't want to have that conversation where he goes, but we are tracking basically everything else. When you have enough metadata, you don't need the content. Metadata is a proxy for content because machines can analyze it in a way that content can't. Metadata creates perfect records of private lives. Now, even if you believed him, turned out that was not true. He said, we're not rifling through people's emails, but we found out just last month that in fact Yahoo, one of the major internet companies, had decided beyond what the law required that they would scan all of their customers' emails on behalf of U.S. intelligence. Now, they could have contested this in court. but they chose not to because they thought it would be secret and that nobody would find out. This is a danger of having companies that store enormous amounts of data on their customers. If you build it, they will come. Now let's contrast that to a messenger, an app, right, for your smartphone called Signal. It's on iOS, it's on Android. It allows you to make encrypted calls and encrypted texts to avoid this kind of thing, right? If you want to send photos to somebody and you don't want the Canadian government or anybody else to see it, even just your internet service provider, you've got to encrypt it. Well, the FBI came after them, saying, we want to know what one of your users is doing. Signal went instead to a civil liberties organization, the ACLU, and they fought in court what they could. They found out that they couldn't resist the order, which is okay, they've got no legal recourse there. But they said, what if we fight the secrecy order? What if we fight for the right to tell people that it happened? And there they won. And here's where it gets interesting. They did cooperate with the FBI. They had to. They had no legal choice. But because of the design of their service, this is the actual records, all of the records, that they handed over to the FBI. The government redacted it, but we know based on the operation what it was. The account number on the left is the phone number that the government already had, because the government said, we want you to look up this number. And the only information that this company held was when the account was created, the date, and the last time that it connected, because they weren't tracking who you were calling with this. They weren't tracking what you were doing with this, because it wasn't necessary for the operations of their business. This gives us an idea, a framework of a safer world, particularly for journalists and individuals who have a real need, right? Not just a rights-based need, but a professional need, perhaps a safety-based need. Because if you're a journalist in Beijing or Moscow or somewhere else, and the government can see who you're contacting, that could actually get people jailed, killed, or worse. We need to move to a paradigm where all of our communications are encrypted by default. Now, what does encryption mean? For those who don't understand that mass surveillance problem with the metadata that we talked about earlier, the problem is when you think about the internet, how it actually works, how it fits together. When you send a text message, when you send a Facebook message, how does that actually get from your phone to the other person's phone, right? Well, it's got to travel over this no man's land of the internet. All of these systems that are physically connected, right? The fiber optic cables, the satellite links, all the radio hops, the microwave connections. You don't see any of this. It just happens, right? But it's there. And all of those people in the middle have a chance to look at that communication. If it's an SMS, right, a normal text message that you send, it's completely unencrypted. Anybody in the middle can read what it is, they can store what it is, they can save what it is. The same thing for normal emails that are sent unencrypted. Web traffic that's not HTTPS at the front of the bar, right? That's just HTTP. That's unencrypted, so nobody can see that. But if you encrypt it now, suddenly all they have is the metadata. They can't actually read that interior transmission. What this means is that governments have been exploiting this property to collect all of that stuff for free as your communications cross the internet electronically naked. Encryption allows us to armor our communications to walk through that dangerous valley and get to the other side with some dignity left intact. That's the first thing that we need to establish to protect the content of our communications. The second thing, which is a much more difficult problem, maybe because you're students, you can research this problem and find a way to fix it permanently, is how do we protect the fact that the communication occurred at all in the first place, the metadata, right? There's what you said, and then there's also the fact that you said something at all. Can we protect the fact that you called your mother, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your professor, whatever? You called a hospital. You called an abortion clinic. You called a political group. You called a church. Any connection, where you spend your money, how you do it, where you travel, when you cross a border. Right now, we are living lives of unparalleled vulnerability to power. We live in a very safe time. Let's make no mistake about that, right? Everybody plays up the threat of terrorism, But if you look at any metric of mortality, if you look at any metric of quality of life, we're doing pretty good relative to historic circumstances. Yet at the same time, our ability to resist powerful institutions, be they corporate, be they governmental, has never been less than it is today. Because their powers throughout history have been very closely connected to ours, right? When people only had muskets, the government had to be pretty careful. When people only had horses, there was only so much they could do. When you have one side that has the largest surveillance machine that has ever been completed on a global basis in the history of humanity, and they have the exclusive use of it, and we, on the other hand, have smartphones that are saying everywhere we go all the time, every purchase we make, every website we visit, we need to think about what that means. It means we are creating permanent records of our daily activities that could be used for purposes that we will never know and have no say in. We have an obligation and we have a right to change the game and say, yes, if governments, if courts want to monitor criminals, they can do so. They can go to a judge. They can say, this is the evidence that we need to monitor this individual. But the days where they could monitor everyone, everywhere, all the time, simply what the government calls by means of bulk collection, which is the government euphemism for mass surveillance. They say, we just want to collect everything and store it in case we want to search it later. Those days are numbered. We are going to move towards a freer and fairer future rather than simply the one that has already been laid out for us. We are at a decision point, and we could have a very dark future or a very bright future, but the ultimate determination of which fork in the road we take won't be my decision. It won't be the government's decision. It will be your generation's decision. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it is that you guys actually decide.
So this is a perfect note and place to end, from dystopian realism of the present to possible utopia of the future. And what I'd like to do is actually first thank the Beaverbrook Foundation for making this possible. And I'd also like to thank Snowden and the audience. And everyone is standing up right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience tonight. I know we had some difficulties, both in getting everybody in the room, getting the technology working. But this is an example of how, you know, if we have a little bit of patience, if we deal with a little bit of inconvenience, we can make things happen. And so thank you so much. And I hope that next year I'll be able to see you in person. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.